do personally, and you're talking to Chris now, not to the board, would I like to see smaller schools? Sure. The reality, I'm not sure how we exactly do that. Reclaiming all of our schools that have been given up, you know, we're willing to do it. I'm sorry, we tried to reclaim the land that was ours for BCC Middle School #2, and you see how that's working out for us. There are the real difficulties that we have. I don't think you'll ever see the board saying we're gonna give up another school because of the reality of what we've got now. But I expect that the size of our schools is going to stay large. I just don't see how, given all we've got, how we could do differently. Because the reality of building, if we build 3 elementary schools for the size of that 740, I don't know how we would do it. I don't know that we could build elementary schools at 500 or 400. It would be nice. I don't see how we make that happen.
There's no land.
Well, that's the issue. I mean, that's really what it comes to. I mean, practically. Are there other questions? Mark?
I guess I'd say, I think you all have been way too silent. When I came on the council, the standard in the school system was a cluster of 140 or 150 before it went somewhere. And when I proposed lowering that number to 120, it was opposed by the school board. So how do you, on the one hand, bemoan this mess from it, and the other hand, encourage policies which create the mess? I personally think 120 is too high. I don't know why we don't go to a policy where it's a school by school decision. If I can build a new project next to a school that's bursting at the seams, and if it doesn't push the cluster over to 120, that project goes through, and then you've got a problem that you can't deal with. You have a problem in Whitefield, but you know that, no school site.
Well,
Inadequate
we got
school
schools
site,
that
utterly
are
inadequate.
not adequate, right?
Right, and no money to build the school. Other jurisdictions actually get money. When you have much development we improve like it's gonna swamp you guys. Billions of dollars to be made. And we didn't extract either a school site for free or a building for free. And so I don't understand why you don't play harder on the policy side that leads to the overcrowding. And if you don't give the council guidance and don't make an issue out of it, or when you come in like you did in Rockville, what was that school, Phil, that we voted to give away? And the advice from the school board is that we don't need this high school.
I don't think you
That
heard
was,
from this school board.
what school was it?
Perry.
Perry.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, we fought to keep Perry High School.
We were
so-
told you didn't need it.
Well, okay.
I
Our then president, Pat O'Neill, testified
We
on
asked
behalf.
whether you needed it, we were told it wasn't needed for the future.
That was before this board's
Right.
time. 'Cause
I mean, it's hard
I
for me to take
testified.
on
It was
the
Apple, right.
In the original.
So I'm gonna take that as future advice, as in the future, and we're in these moments, I mean, I'm being serious, you know. We will be more aggressive on the policy side. We have to be. What we've seen, we talked about White Flint. That's an issue where we don't have an adequate option. The planning board wants us to look at one option. We know that if we co-located, that would help us tremendously in terms of site size. And we've sent a letter to the planning board to say, we believe you need to do what you can to allow us to get to that co-location site as opposed to the southern site, okay? But I politely will take under advisement your desire for and need for the board to be more aggressive on the policy side. The other side that I've got to deal with is, here we are right now, in this crisis. So how do we either make more soup, you know, or figure out how to get more food? Because the kids are hungry, and I mean that as in school size.
But we're improving things right now in this crisis. So they will fit with whatever the students.
It may be a lot of not.
Let's talk to the state.
Yeah.
I just want to add 2 things quickly. First, to the MTPS folks, the Board of Ed, the presentation was great. we need to hone the messaging a little bit here, and in particular, when we have you guys down in Annapolis talking about money, we need to work on not speaking in Montgomery County speak. I mean, it's, you know, it's not 50,000 kids in MCPS are eligible for free and reduced price meals. It's 50,000 kids in MCPS have families who can't put enough food on the table. You know, we need to work on the messaging a little bit because, you know, it's a little too technical for a lot of the people we're going to be talking.
Well, let's not forget, this is a message for you.
Yeah, no, I know.
And so we can
It's a
work
little
on
too technical for me too.
Okay.
It's a nice word.
Yeah. I didn't put it that way. I mean, second, you know, I think concerns about school size are important, and concerns about growth policy are important, all these concerns are important, but as far as Annapolis goes, we need to have a united front. I mean, to every single person we talk to about this, in the press, in Annapolis, our kids need this. No kid should be taking a reading class in a broom closet. No kid should be sitting at a computer in the media center and having rain come down. We need this, period. All of those other conversations can happen behind the scenes, but if we want to make this happen from here on out, it needs to be.
So one of the things that we had a conversation about is what do we need to be bringing down to Annapolis? And what are the stories that we need to bring down in terms of what are the issues that our kids are dealing with in those classrooms? So we heard from our students from Poolsville High School talking about having to sit on stools on the edges of their classrooms because they're too small. Okay, we have kids who are saying, look, here's a piece of my tennis court. This is what it means, and while people may not connect the dot, how that has to deal with our capacity issue, the reality is, because we're constantly dealing with the capacity issue, we can't get to some of these other issues, okay? So we've got folks from Damascus High School telling us, oh my goodness, I've got critters on the floor. Yes, Nancy?
I think a lot of what we need to focus on too is this whole growth issue. Because if you come to Annapolis and you're talking about, we have such a number of farms kids and we have so many poor kids, every other county is going to talk to you about the same thing. Not every other county is going to have the same argument we've got about the growth. And I think those numbers have to be out there and plain and succinct so that we can show those numbers because that is our case, I think, more than anything. If that's our case, we've got to have seats for these kids.
Right, definitely hear that. Definitely hear that, yes.
Yeah, I actually want to chime in on what Senator King said. My timing isn't past. I do want to chime in on the growth issue because I think that's extremely important and that's where the true message lies. I mean, I've talked to them blue in the face about my daughter's elementary school.
Montanaga, how many students?
1,000. Everybody's heard the story. 1,000 children in an elementary school. There's nobody else in the state that's going to say that. And those are the kinds of stories that, again, we can talk about, just like you said, about farms rates, but the reality is that in Baltimore City, there are a lot of kids in Prince George's County. There are a lot of schools that have high farms rates. And so folks will easily come back and say, well, I hear you. We're experiencing the same challenge. The growth is the thing that separates us in addition to, right? See, so not only are we growing at an exponential rate, but we also have our farms rate that is growing as a part of that as well, which creates that extra compression. But the lead-in story is about the number of kids, the sheer number of kids, and the fact that we are doing a great job of still educating those children, which is also helping the state when it comes to making sure that we're leading the way as far as our education policy and what we want to do and try to accomplish in lifting up our entire state. So I think that, again, as we all agree, and I'm not saying that that's what the message is, but my thought is that we all agree on how we move this message forward so that we're all saying the same thing when we go and advocate for what I think is really important for our entire state, not just for Montgomery County.
And reality is our growth is partially because of our success. People are coming to the county because we are successful. And we have a great school system. Yes,
Yeah, I just want to talk about that narrative too a little bit. I do believe what Nancy said that we do have a different story to tell about growth, but I don't think we not tell the other story because, right, I think in Montgomery County it's really interesting where we are in the Washington DC region, that there's a migratory pattern that's impacting who sits in the chairs. And I think whenever I go to Annapolis, people are kind of like surprised to hear me talk about families struggling in huge numbers, not small numbers. I think that's the narrative that's changed in Montgomery County, and so people in Annapolis can't always look at us and say, oh, well, you know, you guys have the money to pay your way, which we have always done. But it's getting more and more difficult for our taxpayers to be told, okay, well, the buck stops here, you guys are gonna have to, you know, pony up. I think there's a larger narrative to tell, and I think that we can all play a role in figuring out how you guys tell that story, how we individually tell that story, how the county council tells that story. So if we're really gonna go together holding hands, there are things we all need to be very, very aware of. This is not just happening this year. This has been a trend. We've been trending for more than a decade in this direction. And I think people across the state of Maryland are just surprised to hear it. If they hear it at all,
They're always very surprised to
they're
hear it.
just shocked, right? So, anyway, I just wanted to throw that in.
Bill?
So the amount of growth is what separates the growth of MCPS in terms of other school systems, but the entire growth has been in the farms population. Almost the entire 20,000 increase in the last 9 years is in the farms population. It's gone up by about and ESOL. So it's that double, it's that combination that puts the load on the system to the extent.
I love these. I don't miss high school. So it's trying to, huh? So I feel like we're getting close to our end, but I also am concerned that there are a few different things that I think we need to do. Okay, one, I think it's clear that we're unified on this issue in terms of where the problem lies. The challenge that we have in front of us, and this is surely not to be figured out now or today or here, is what kind of package can be crafted. I do want to recognize, getting ready to fall off that oh boy, did you really say this cliff? We have several tremendous competing interests that we've got to figure out as we come up with a solution. We've got funding obligations when it comes to education. We've got real issues that we've got to figure out that the county is dealing with, and as we talked about, we are bringing more and more and more children to the table and into our classrooms who have needs that aren't all met by the schools, but the county is paying for them when it comes to the housing needs, when it comes to how are we feeding these young people, how are we dealing with safety issues, how are we dealing with recreation, and on and on. But at the same time, we've got to solve this problem. And I am hopeful and dependent, and I truly mean dependent, that we can work together to figure out how to deal with all of those interests and keep the county whole. Okay?
I'm gonna have to leave, but I thought that during this discussion, we were gonna get to the proposal that the superintendent has for Annapolis to figure out how we're gonna pay for this thing. So if this is not that meeting.
This is not that meeting.
I apologize, because I thought we were gonna have that.
It's the county executive's proposal.
The county executive's plan, sorry
Right.
about that, John. So, I just thought we might be.
So just get your checkbook out.
All right.
But one of the things, our goal here, as I said, our goal here is to help folks understand and define the problem. That's really what we can get to here, okay? Get into what that solution looks like. There's plenty of work to be done on how we're gonna get there and what that is going to be. So as folks have to traipse out, I'm gonna say thank you. We are going to be back in touch. Yes,
I
you
was
were.
just gonna say, I also want to wish Eric a happy birthday and thank you for having his birthday.
Happy birthday, Eric.
Eric, you're 20.
There are opportunities for us to get together individually and collectively. I'll say this, if folks are interested in tours of schools, we need to continue to do that. We have to deal with sitting down and talking about legislative solutions. I want to thank everybody for coming, listening. Our dream team can definitely come down to Annapolis or to offices to help you. The board will definitely be in Annapolis as much as you need us. Please help us to understand when we need to be there and who we need to be talking to help tell the story. We definitely will do the work of honing that story and making it as sharp as possible to get to that point. But again, let's go back to my opening statement. We have a real problem that must be solved in this county. We are in a capacity crisis, and we need your help to solve it. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate everybody being here, taking time out of your very busy schedules. We will see you soon.